Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to this is the third one that we've tried to record. This will be the first one that you actually see of RUPL recaps. We're like halfway through the season at this point. It is what it is. Such is life. Today I'm joined by Evie and Seed. Y'all can say what's up.
Hello, I'm still
Hello.
here.
Yeah, so that's Evie and Seed. And then Fiend is also in call, but he's muted. So yeah, y'all can see his icon there on the screen, but you probably won't actually hear him talk. All right. So we had week 4 that just happened. Like I said, we're like midway through the season. But yeah, week 4 just happened. We're in week 5, as you can kind of see from the tab up above. Also, while I'm here, let me remember to just like share my screen so y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, there it is. Okay, so week 4 just happened. And a whole bunch of like very interesting stuff happened kind of coming into this week. So we can just like kind of jump into it and start talking about stuff. So first off, we had the Deranged Hustlers versus the Pressure Cookers coming into this week. Hustlers were 2-1, uh, and
Let's
Cookers
fucking
were
go.
0-3, I believe. And Cookers got their first win of the season, which is basically a must win for them to even kind of hope to stay in contention for playoffs.
That's
And
right.
then the Hustlers, they actually lost week 3, or like, yeah, I'm part of the Hustlers. So we actually lost week 3 and week 4 now at this point. So on a bit of a slide. It's a tough time. Um, but it kind of is what it is. Seed, you and I both like were active participants in this series, so I will actually table our thoughts first. Evie, what do you
Sure.
know, kind of looking at how this week panned out? What are some of your thoughts about kind of the slots, some surprises, and just kind of, yeah, how what this means for the Hustlers and the Cookers going into week 5?
Well, the Cookers needed that win, right? And I think what we thought before was that their SV was actually really good, and that certainly helped a lot in this series. Um, but they've Lily coming into Black BO3. I think we had some concern, but clearly it worked out, which is nice, and it probably salvaged the week for them. Um, So it's kind of funny looking at the old gens because they got the upsets. I feel like looking at the names, but then they didn't get the slot they should have won. So which is a bit unfortunate. But I mean the fact that I think the Cookers might still be in it like last week because their SV is actually really strong right now. So as long as they have like that foundation, it's a good win. It's a really good win.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is funny. Flampoke specifically, who is a manager for the Cookers, has said before that he really, coming into week 4, I think he was 3-0. He was undefeated. And I think I remember him saying in Discord, I really don't care about my record because we've been losing these weeks. So he said something along the lines of, I'd trade a loss for a win on the week. And that is exactly what happened here. It's kind of funny just to see how the one week that Flam lost, his team actually turned it around and managed to get a win on the week. So yeah, I mean, Seed, what was it? What was it kind of like? Coming into this week and kind of prepping, in what is essentially a must-win week. You were one of, I think, two teams with 0 wins coming into week 4, and it's like just to kind of keep your playoff dreams alive. You really do you needed to start winning, and you definitely delivered on that. But what was it kind of like? Yeah, just prepping for this week specifically.
Yeah, I think there was sort of a mutual understanding among the team that this was a must-win week, considering our record prior. And first of all, like it's not even like we were getting like curb stomped completely in the prior weeks. We were 4-6 every week, and there were just a couple matches that like tipped the scales not in our favor each week because of like hacks or whatever. So, I think because we weren't like actually horrible, there was still that motivation. I think we just had to sort of change up some of the slots, which, we did with Black and White, and Sun and Moon, of course. And I think that, it was just a little bit of a breath of fresh air. But we've had like really strong support behind the scenes, between Neomon, between Vroom, between SPPC. Flam's been building almost all of the SV teams that you've seen thus far. I've been a lot more involved in the old gen stuff, which has been nice for me personally. But yeah, we've had good support, and I think that that's been crucial for us. Not only to support the slots themselves, but to just keep up morale more generally.
Yeah, we love to hear that. And there are definitely a couple slots here that I think Evie mentioned before, especially in the old gens where you had a couple upsets happen this week, that really helped, bring things into your favor. Specifically, I will call attention to the black, white, and the ADV sets. So black, white, I think y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure y'all were winless coming into this week. Yeah,
Yes, we were.
yeah.
Yeah, because
So
Shiloh was week 1, and then SBPC weeks 2 and 3.
right. 0-3. And then versus Guille, who is, um, kind of agreed upon one of the better black white players, actually, just kind of in the pool. I think that was like a huge momentum shift for Vroom. His first time being in the lineup, being able to kind of clinch that win versus a good player in Guille. And a similar, thing can be said about LPZ versus Mielka. Um, just if going up by power rankings, LPZ was like I think PR3 and Mielka was PR like I think 7 or 8. Um, and that was like just a huge gap both in like kind of the name brand, and also kind of what just people expected there. And having that flip was also like a giant, like plus for y'all in that column. Uh, and then obviously Lily. I mean, for those of us who are like familiar with Lily's game, it unsurprising to see that she kind of broke out of her funk, right? Because also coming into this week, she was not having a great tour, right? I don't remember exactly what her record was. I just know it wasn't
She
very
was 0 and neither one.
okay. Okay, yeah. So she was also winless coming into this week, and finding herself in a new slot. I don't know if that was like kind of the jumpstart she needed. I mean, you can kind of talk about how she's been in chat, um, but definitely, hit her stride with this one and managed to get that first win in the season, which is big, which is big. Um, yeah. Beyond
Yeah, and
that,
this I'll just speak to some of the behind the scenes stuff with Black and White. I mean, Vroom is super involved in the prep for Black and White and ADV especially, and SPPC as well. But Vroom is like secretly like a really strong player that I think a lot of people sleep on, and he's very familiar with like how GA plays, and has access to a lot of his teams. And so when building, specifically, he really wanted to use Spiritomb because he felt it looked super strong into GA's scout, which indeed it did, right? Like that's what ended up happening. And then Milka, I honestly thought he was gonna win this, just because I don't think LPC's been having the best tour, if I remember correctly. When
mhm.
it's working, I think he's 1 and 3, right?
Yeah, he's like 1-3 right now. Well, he is
Yeah.
the one week he subbed out actually, so 1-2, but
Okay. 1 and 2. Okay. So either way, I can't say what's happening in your team court or what's behind the scenes, but like it doesn't seem like he maybe has the same motivation that Milka does. And also Milka, I think, is someone that Flam and I had in mind to sort of break into the ADVRU scene when we drafted him, because if I remember correctly, he was an ADVOU main mostly, but we knew he had like the raw talent, and a lot of the skills that you do in other tiers can just be translated to another tier. So it was a little bit of a risk drafting him, but we felt super strongly about him, and it's paid off, I think, mostly.
nice, 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 nice.
Mostly, he hasn't won
Um,
every week, but like also the support from Room is like absolutely essential.
yeah, because Room also plays ADD, right? So that's
Yeah,
pretty clutch having
yeah,
kind of a guy in the back who can help out with just multiple tiers like that's a high value pick for sure.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
otherwise, I mean, we can talk a little bit about the SV2, and it's like, I mean, Evie, you mentioned this before, how the Cookers have kind of been hanging their hat on the SV side, but this week is also a little different. I mean, we had Entro subbed in, who had been like kind of bouncing back and forth between a few tiers, and then Evie, kind of filling in the slot for, I think it was Lily, who moved out of SV into the best of three slot. So I mean, a couple of new faces, but they, definitely put up numbers, which is very good. I myself have not been having the greatest season 1 and 2 at this point. And then Lime also has been struggling a little bit, but that will be
Yeah,
on the
but it
hustlers to see if we can break out of that this week. Uh, Yeah. What
Well,
were you saying? I'm
but
sorry.
it
What were you
kind
saying,
of
Steve?
goes to show that it.
Or Heavy?
Well,
Yeah.
it kind of goes to show like how building is actually really important because like we had EV on our RUBD team, right? Like
Yeah. Go RUBD
when
this
there's
week.
a lot of building, those players who are like kind of competent, or in her case actually competent, they get helped a lot, like team build or like if you put them in a position to play, like it's comforting to know that the team's gonna be there for you. And it's the same with Antro. Like both of them are actually good players. So even if you could say, well, maybe the opponents should be favored, like it's not that clear cut. And I think the building on the side of the Cookers has been clearly better so far. The Hustlers, there's still a team I think is a favorite for the playoffs and stuff, but on that part it's been a little trickier. So yeah,
Yeah, we've definitely been not only this week, but in week three too. We've definitely on the hustler side been slacking a little bit on the SV, and so we are making a bit more of a concerted effort trying to clean some stuff up this week. And we kind of already saw some results from that with the Thiago Nunez set. He already played this week actually versus Avarice, and we'll talk about that in the week five stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a kind of team wide, a little bit more of a concerted effort to put a little more thought, put a little more prep into the SV side of things because we coming into this, a lot of people, us included, kind of just assumed we'd be a very strong SV team. And recently, that's kind of been, slipping out of our hands. So definitely one of the points of emphasis moving for the rest of the season and specifically this week after coming off now two consecutive losses. But
Yeah, real quick,
yeah,
I wanted to touch on something Evie said, which was I think for us, we know that we're not delusional, and we know that at least particularly in the old gens, we don't have the strongest players in the entire pool, right? So I think because we've been focusing so much on the building aspect of it, we're trying to sort of win these matches in the builder a little bit more than like in the match itself. And of course, both are important, right? But because we're sort of the underdogs on the gameplay side of it, we have to really focus on our building to make sure that's solid.
for
yeah.
sure.
You know what's delusional? 24K on Sword and Shield.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean,
Listen, listen, that was okay. That was about our budget, and we spent so much less on Ments than we expected. So we had the money, and also I really like Saul.
oh, wait,
So
on who? On who? Excuse me. On is what?
sorry, on redacted.
All right. Excuse who? Yeah. Um,
Lol.
this was actually a huge week too. Now, right? Because this was also the first week after that very unfortunate ban happened. So definitely just a statement week for the Cookers, and y'all definitely showed up to play and took home the week. So shout outs to y'all. Very good stuff. Um,
Thank you.
I mean that's
That
kind
was
of
the
all I have
worst
to say
ban.
about the yeah.
That was the worst ban. I took a nap and woke up, and then my best of three was gone. Like, and someone else had lost. It was. I want to go back to sleep.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But that's kind of all I have to say about the Hustlers Cookers. Evie Seed, any
Wait, Queen,
closing
what did you
thoughts, or can we
say?
just move it
If
on?
it helps, Seed, the my first RPL I managed, my biggest spend was banned like in week 2, and we won the tour. So you never know.
Yeah, no, we're resilient, and it didn't like set us back in any way. I don't think. We just had to pivot a little bit, but clearly it's working. So.
All right,
Oh,
moving
Clearly,
on.
Fiend won, and
for
that's
Yeah.
some
good.
reason, Fiend used the Guard of War, so I think he's bad.
All right, moving on. We had the Noble Guardians beat the Toxic Chains. Toxic Chains beat the Guardians. Um, so I think y'all improved to 3-1, and the Guardians
Yeah,
are also two. Wait, no, Guardians are 2-2 now. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Okay.
surprised. I am surprised. We're doing very well. So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
Evie, you said you had a lot of thoughts during the stream, during kind of some of these unreleased lost calls about maybe the chains and some of the lineup woes. But uh, yeah, I mean, kind of talk us through what it looked like this week. You brought a Musharna and Oras. Expo brought something versus Kumiko. Um, and yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of interesting
yeah.
stuff. But yeah,
Let me look back at the Expo game for a second because I kind of forgot about it. I remember being very nonplussed about the result, but yeah, right. Hmm. I don't yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like once again this is the result of Toxic Rogue as a Scarfer being absolute dog water. I hate Toxic Rogue. I just every time I feel like it keeps snatching losses from the jaws of victory, whereas SD can actually be a threat consistently. Like this just bothers me so much. Um, Also, unfortunately, I don't want to trash talk Crossbow because like I've done it too much already. But like the teams were like speed tier is 45, but you have like a bad Scarfer and a Northern. Like they just don't make sense to me.
mm,
Like especially in SM, because like in SM like speed tiers, like a lot of people talk memes about like Registeel and Dolphin being max speed, and like fair enough, but like there's so many speed tiers you need to check, and I feel like sometimes they get paranoid a little too much about creeping the base 50, and it's it just looks weird. Like those things just looks really weird to me.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. Besides that, I feel I mean, Stretch versus Umbri was probably like a decider because like when Stretch won, like pretty much everyone was like, yeah, okay, like this is gonna be a good week because this was the result we really needed. And sure, you got a little bit lucky with the miss, but like at the end, he just had to play his matchup really well, and yeah, he didn't make a single mistake. Um, I did bring a Musharna. I did bring a Musharna, and I barely remember my game honestly because I was not in a good mood like the whole day. But I remember like on one key turn absolutely throwing like unbelievably bad by not pursuing a Flygon for zero reason, and I almost lost the game to it. Um,
Many such
like
cases.
just because I don't know, like in my brain I was like, oh, they're probably gonna take, yeah, like obviously they're gonna click pursuit. I can do whatever after, but they switch and I'm just, oh yeah, I should have clicked pursuit. Unfortunate. Um, but besides that, like not very much surprising. I feel Baddy clicked sub with a Gallade, and like there was no real answer. That's always nice. I feel like the people that could have lost mostly lost. The people that I would be like, yeah, sure, they can win. They won, and Stretch won. So we won the week.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
Oyster is having a great tour. Also, I just wanted to shout him out because I do some of the prep with him behind the scenes, pre-match, and he's been playing really well. And I know he was off for a little while, and then has kind of come back with a vengeance. So
Oh,
I'm happy to see
yeah.
him do well. Yeah, Oyster.
Yeah, yeah. Oyster has like I said it in the last log, but like Oyster like last in the power ranking for Sword and Shield was such a clueless moment from the voters. Like it's just unbelievably stupid. So yeah,
Yeah, and
like that guy's so serious in his prep.
if you look at some of the names that he's taken down, it has been everyone who people thought were actually going to lead the pack, and unfortunately, Oyster has just gone. He's like the Death Note. He's like, okay, let me get Soul out the way. All right, Bluebird. Okay, who did he play last week? Oh, Meru. Yeah, Meru. Very quality wins under his belt. He
No,
is sitting
yeah,
at a 3-1
he's
record with all those like very impressive wins, kind of backing him up. So for anyone who was unfamiliar with Oyster's game, put some respect on that man's name. He has, and this is just also from a little bit of experience after teaming with him in RU World Cup. He is very kind of almost neurotic about his prep at sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Very serious, very kind of thorough with it. His building style, you can kind of make your jabs at if it's like predictable or not. Uh, I've prepped for him in other slots before, and it's like, yeah, you can kind of expect what's coming, just like what his team will look like. But who cares if you know what's coming if it keeps winning? So, you know, People who have kind of slept on him at this point, there really is no reason to expect Oyster to do anything except kind of continue to have a great season. So shout outs to him. Glad to see that he's finally gotten his shot and is kind of proving that he belongs on the RUPL stage. The stretch Umbry game, I want to go back to that. It is unfortunate. Hacks is hacks, but I mean, Umbry, you do bring hyper offense, and with teams like that, sometimes it's like, okay, one or two turns go wrong, and suddenly you are in it from, a winning position to, oh, I have simply lost the game, which kind of is what it felt like during the actual
Yeah.
game between, Umbry and Stretch. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Umbry has
Yeah.
gotten a little bit unlucky the past couple weeks. And I think she has 2-2 record now, which is, not what the Guardians want, but the season is still young. We're just
Yeah.
hitting just past the halfway point. We'll see how it plays out for the rest of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead,
But
Eddie.
this is why I don't like bringing hyper offense in BO1 unless like you're really confident about your team. And I did it like the week prior when I used like some sort of hyper offense in RAS, but like I didn't get the role I needed with Glalie, and I was just, oh, this is gonna be difficult now. So yeah, like you're always living on a margin, and if you don't get like the right side of that margin, it's just hard as hell to get back into it. Whereas
Word.
like if you play BO3, it's like, yeah, that's a kind of like surprise you can throw, or like for a quicker game or like a change of pace. But in a BO1, like you really need to be confident, or hyper offense needs to be broken, like it is in SV. But yeah,
Oh, it definitely is an SV. You don't need to put any asterisk on it. Hyper offense is correct. Uh, but yeah, definitely agree with you. High risk play style, just kind of by the nature of being like kind of cheesy. Uh, and some things don't go your way. Tough luck. You have lost, which means a lot
yeah,
in the best of one setting, like you were saying. Uh, yeah, but also kind of looking at some of the other names in the SV side. Want to bring some more attention to Drip Legend, actually, who slotted in for the Guardians last week for the first time. I think replacing Boof. So I think Boof was on like vacation or something. I don't know if Boof is still on vacation, but Drip has made two starts and is 2-0 right now. So the Guardians may have done a little bit of digging and struck some gold with this Drip Legend SV starter, Evie Seed. What do you kind of think about Drip coming out the gates being 2-0 for them right now? Well, one of them ending in a loss, but for their team, but a 2-0 record is a 2-0 record.
Yeah, I think he's been playing well. I think maybe he's been a little slept on just because he's part of that sort of UU jerk that has it like kind of comes and goes with RU, but I think this is his. If I correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's his first real involvement with RUPL.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, last week,
I
yeah,
think
week 3 was his first
yeah.
start, and then week 4, yeah.
So I think foraying into another tier is his first real exposure on the big stage, and yeah, he's been doing well. And then Gum's been playing well too. I think she's 3-1, or I think they're 3-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah, they've both been playing well. I don't really have much to say beyond that
yeah,
because I'm not
and
really involved behind the scenes. They've been playing a lot of Wochen though, and whenever I
I,
play Gum
yeah,
against the rest talk Wochen, it makes me want to die a little bit. So
Word.
I don't want to you know uh take away from their win, but like every loss, TKO comes back to this Discord being like, damn, I didn't know how to play around that, or damn, I didn't know they run that set. So, you know,
All right. All you're telling me is you sent your player in half baked, and then he got cooked
I'm I'm
fully.
I'm
And
not
now
the
you're
I'm
coming
not
back
the
and
manager
co-baked.
anymore.
And I'm like,
I'm
all
not
right.
the manager. I don't prep SV. I'm not the manager. I don't care
Okay.
anymore. I'm retired.
Okay.
And I've been talking so much shit on our team, and we keep winning. So I'm gonna continue talking shit.
It's a good luck charm. It's a good luck charm. You have to continue, what's it called? Criticizing yourselves. Um, and then also, actually, I was going to say I don't really have anything else to say, but I do want to touch briefly upon ADV and then also best of three. Um, firstly, best of three, which I will say something about just because it's faster. But Avarice, this is his, I think, second week starting in best of three after being slotted in over Rob Jr. He lost versus Punny, which is unfortunate, but Punny is a very great player. So, I mean, this hardly came as a super surprise, I think, to a lot of people. Um, but Evie, how's Avarice been kind of just liking best of three? I mean, I know personally, just from like what they've said in like our UUPL cord, when he was in SV, like just SV proper, he was not having a great time. But it seems like he's having a little bit more fun in the best of three slot. So like, what's like his mindset?
To
I guess been like.
to quote a sports genius, I'm not gonna speak because if I speak, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Okay, pleading the fifth. Understandable, understandable. Um, but all right, and then after that, C Hasup. Um, what are the highlights for kind of the season as far as ADV content goes? And see, Hasup was a great game to see. Personally, I thought Hasup had a little bit of the edge coming into this week, but C is obviously that's the PR1 in the power ranking, so they stepped up, really redeemed the season after a somewhat rocky start, and I say somewhat after just the week one loss and then kind of the best of three debacle that happened week two, but it is what it is. So glad to see them having like rebounded properly now. And yeah, great season for them. All right.
Yeah,
Anything else to talk about in this set, or can we just move it on?
No, we can move on.
All right, cool.
yeah,
All right, so then we have prime photosynthesizers versus the party crashing pranksters. Earlier in the vid, I mentioned that the pressure cookers coming into this week were one of two teams who had gone winless. And oh wait, no, I'm sorry. They won week three. I
yeah.
was
You're
thinking about the
capping that.
payloaders for whatever reason. Yeah, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah,
prime photosynthesizers, they came in 2-1, apologies, versus the party crashing pranksters, who I believe were undefeated. And as you can see here, they stay undefeated, um, which was a more or less kind of expected result. Across every slot here, I think the pranksters were really favored basically everywhere. Black white, you could probably say not so much. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I think I remember in my predicts last week I picked like a 9-1 or something for the pranksters. Like I thought that they were just a very strong team and had stronger picks in more or less every slot. But yeah, I mean, Evie Seed, what do you kind of make of this? The photosynthesizers coming into week three, they had one win and now they took another loss. So they're also kind of on the fringes of being eliminated from playoffs. Uh, yeah, what did y'all think of this series?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but just from an outside perspective, I think the pranksters definitely have the motivation aspect, like sort of leg up on the photosynthesizers. Uh, so I think that is part of it. They definitely have the stronger lineup, so these results make sense. Um, yeah. Also, I think everyone has been in the same slots with the pranksters. They haven't really had to shuffle anyone around. So there's probably a greater level of comfort with the gameplay versus I think the pro synthesizers have been kind of shuffling people here and there, like Ziri's played in Ores, and I think he played in Sun and Moon at one point. So yeah, I think it's just a level of comfort that you get as you go through the tour. Um, that's all I really have to say about it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
in that case, I just think like the lineup was too good from the pranksters.
Yeah.
Like realistically, they've been firing since the beginning of the tour. Like everything is going their way. Uh, Jacob did not beat Ajna, much to my surprise, unfortunately. But yeah, like I mean, the three wins that they got, like they're good wins, but like it just wasn't enough. Like it's not that they are bad players, really. It's just the lineup just don't match, and especially since Kushalos isn't working out that great this RUPL. Like it just puts them so much in the back. Like how do you win with this team if Kushalos doesn't get like a 6-3 record?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, but also Evie and this Mock Jacob Ajin again. Mock Jacob was winning for like 75% of the game, I think. And then Ajna, I think, got a Bisharp in. The Bisharp clicked Swords Dance a few times, and then like, Terror Dark, and then Sucker Punched, and then yep, GG.
Wow. 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 I'm so shocked. Are you
Right?
telling me SV is bad?
I think a Bisharp winning a game is an unprecedented event. That's actually never happened.
Right? The first
Yeah.
time in
Well,
recorded history that well, okay, I will say this, and obviously we're being a bit facetious here, but you actually don't see Terror Dark Bisharp a ton. Um, and it didn't like have to be Terra Dark in that situation. I guess you could have been like some other Terra, like Ghost or whatever, and just like sponged a hit from that one Gapdos instead of blowing it up with Sucker Punch. But there is something that does my heart well just seeing a Gapdos drop to a +4 Terra Dark Sucker Punch. That was very funny.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I've wanted to ban Bisharp since like before I quit RUTL, and I wanted to ban Terra like shortly after. So you're telling me like both of the things I was right on ended up being like the decider. Yay.
yeah, it was funny. It
I mean,
was funny. But
just
yeah,
looking
Ashna
at
wins
Mark
again.
Jacobs' team. If you look at Mark Jacobs' team, he has, Weezing, Gastrodon, Guard, Zoroark, Registeel, Gapdos. Like, the Bisharp looked good in this anyway. So I think it was partially just a matchup thing.
I
But
mean,
I don't know, like, once Reggie went down, I was like, okay, I guess Gapdos, but
Weezing can like wisp it if it's not Terrifier. Like Gastrodon
Yeah, but it
can
could be Terrifier
somewhat
though. It
handle
could be
it.
Terrifier.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. Terra's a joke. Like that's my whole thing.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
true. But yeah, that is kind of
Yeah.
that with the Ashna bit. Uh, the party crashing pranksters, I will say also, Seed, you mentioned this before, their activity, specifically with their SV, I've heard this from Fellyburn mostly, has been like, yeah, our SV is popping. Um, just like they've seen a lot of activity between Ajna and Felly and Floss, kind of just trying to work through some of the nuances of SV, and we've seen some pretty creative picks that have worked out for them these past few weeks. I think Ajna brought an Electrode. Uh, we've seen Incineroar out of them. We've seen just like a whole bunch of quote unquote just interesting mons, um, or like quote unquote shit mons that have been putting up big numbers for them, and they have translated those like interesting picks into like meaningful wins, which has led them to 4-0 on the season and very kind of dominantly in first right now. So shout outs to the
I will
pranksters
say
for
Lily also brought Hisui an Electrode this week, which was her own idea that was independent of Ajna, as far as I know. So it's kind of funny that they both arrived there.
yeah
But yeah, I think the Pranksters have definitely brought interesting teams. Like the Incineroar was an interesting pick from I think Floss one week, and then someone else brought it. So yeah, I
Ashna
think
brought it.
Ajna brought it, right. So they're definitely like pushing some limits with SV, which I think is good because it's good to see the metagame develop a little bit.
for sure,
Yeah,
especially
but
since
when I
yeah
bring
go ahead.
sorry when I bring subtoxic Embor in Oras, no one talks about it. Sigh.
Well, Oris is a solved metagame, so
You want us to get hype over Protox Boar with extra steps? Come on,
yeah,
Evie,
like
what are we
this is
doing here?
Hell yeah.
what are we? No, what are we
I feel like
talking?
I feel like Fiend would agree with me. I don't know why.
Okay. Um, but yeah, that is that. That is that. The strap lost versus Dunox. Unfortunate. Big supporter of the strap. He will bounce back probably this week. Unsure, but that was interesting.
Well, the only girl on that team did not play, so the strap had to be nerfed.
Oh my god. Damn, that's crazy. Also true though. Shout out stories, by the way. Um, damn, that's crazy. Yeah, stories philosophy in play. I guess the week was decided at that point, but you never know if BD might like come down to it later. It is what it is. Ryan lost versus 691, which is pretty interesting. First loss for Ryan when he actually shows up, I think. Or actually, no, did he lose week 3? Can someone double check me
I
on
don't
that?
remember actually.
let me see.
I want to say he didn't, but also I feel like there's a chance he did. Okay, no, he won week 3. He won week 3. All right. So yeah, first loss for Ryan when he actually shows up, which is unfortunate, but ultimately kind of unimportant since again his team won the week. Jade over Zeri, cool. Ninja Dog Finchinator, shout outs Ninja Dog. Uh,
Yeah.
Black White Goat, and then Amity Masusa, Fellyburn, PDT. I mean, these are you kind of assume that Amity and Fellyburn would be favored in these slots. But yeah, I mean that's again kind of a somewhat predictable series. But all I have to say, Evie, Seed, any closing thoughts, or are we ready to go on to the uh last
We
kind of okay,
Yeah, no, we can move
Seed,
on.
cool. All right, then we lead. That leads us to the payloaders versus the technicians, and we can do this in Shake-esque eulogy style. Payloaders, y'all had a great season. 0-4. Unfortunately, it might be time to hang him up. Uh, the
Great
season
season
might
followed
just
by
be over for our
4
heroes,
which
the
is
Recolor
crazy.
Captoses. Uh, yeah. We
Yeah.
can.
I
A lot
mean,
of things
listen,
happen.
they were
Yeah.
last in the name ranking, and you know, I think that definitely says a lot. So
hmm maybe they're
Yeah.
playing golf. They're playing golf. It's the winner is actually the person with the lowest score after the 8 weeks. That could they're just playing a different game than everyone else right now. Um,
that's true. They're definitely playing a different game. Yeah, I think this result makes sense with what we would expect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. At this same, I feel like the Pillowers like screwed themselves over, um, team chemistry and stuff because like Bluebird, ODR, and Killing Time losing all in the same time to end their team chance is massive. Like, and I was looking again at the ODR game, and the fact that he got outplayed so hard with Rest Delmise versus Registeel, like, just did not bode well for the game. Like, ugh, that was really bad to watch.
Conversely, shout out to Dugsa, who somehow managed to toxic Reggie or toxic the Delmise and then never give it an option or a good opportunity to rest and then just like somehow blew it up with residual damage, which
No,
is like,
I, I I mean, yeah, but like it never should have happened. Like that's the thing. Like I don't understand how you don't risk it, or at least no, sorry, you don't just do the safe thing and click anchor shot. Because
mm-hmm,
like I feel like ODR got into his head a little bit there. Because I mean I don't know, like this wasn't a risk, and it just completely threw the game off after that.
yeah. And it definitely is like kind of a morale breaker for the team because ODR is one of those guys who is kind of part of the backbone of your team. There are some guys you think every week, okay, we can walk into here, uh, and we can expect them to get a win. And for the payloaders, that most definitely is ODR in the SM slot. To see him and Bluebird and like you mentioned, Kill in Time, three of those guys, in my opinion, who you can kind of assume will get you wins, going down in consecutive fashion, you're just not going to win a week like that. That's just not how you get it done. Um, and yeah, they did lose 3-6, which is unfortunate. Uh, yeah, I really don't know what to say. I mean, the chemistry issues, Evie, you talked about that before. That was something we mentioned all the way back during draft day. We're like, okay, we look at this team, and as far as the names, like in a vacuum, they look okay. They don't look bad. But as a team, led by
Yeah,
the managers they have in Goldcat and Tachi slash Haxel, I mean, it's the chemistry things were kind of undeniable. And I can't actually speak to what's happened in the payloaders court, but as far as the results show, the chemistry thing definitely did seem to maybe be a bit
yeah.
of an
Yeah.
issue.
I mean, Diogo talked about it in the Discord, right? Like he said something about like complete lack of activity from some people. Like it's not tea. Like he said it like very clearly, and
Hmm.
it kind of makes sense looking at this. I don't know, cause like I'm looking at the roster and like it's really good, but it just did not work,
Hmm.
and it was kind of predictable, which is really weird. But yeah,
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just looking at their overall roster with the subs included. Like, I don't really know where the support is. I see a lot of good players, but I don't necessarily know who's like building or like I don't really, especially for SV. Like, I know HJK probably builds his own stuff, but then everyone else, I don't really know where those are coming from.
Yeah.
yeah,
Support definitely a question. And that kind of again leads into the whole chemistry thing because it's like, okay, if you're not talking to each other, you kind of assume that means there's not a lot of people supporting these slots either, not a lot of people like bouncing ideas off of things. And that might end up being,
yeah,
just, I mean, that in and of itself is a hindrance to you that you cannot have on like a winning team. And, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. And I mean, I look at like for example the Chungler, right? Like he's a good SV builder, right? Like everyone's seen his team, they're fine. But you put him in ADV, and like I think this is his first RUPL, so he's gonna try super hard for his slot. So you can't really expect him to build for a completely different metagame. And like he's been down because it hasn't really worked out the way he wants, and ADV is a competitive slot, so it's not really fair to him to blame in any way. Like he's a first time player or close to it, I think. So, but it's just how was this planned at all? Like, it doesn't really make sense.
yeah, definitely some question
And
marks that we had during draft and was really up to the team to answer during the season. And we kind of see their answer at this point.
yeah, I think they drafted a lot of sort of self-sufficient players, but sometimes you could benefit from like a second opinion on the team. And for someone like Chungler, I don't know who else knows ADV at all on that team. Maybe FBK a little bit, but like Chungler's kind of on his own there.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, I just think having like someone to bounce things off of is really helpful.
yeah, for sure. All right, but yeah, I mean I don't actually have a ton to say about the individual matchups. I mean, Metallica overnaming SV, they split 2-2. Got dominated in old gens. It is what it is. Uh, yeah. All right, Evie Seed. Anything to say specifically about this series, or we ready to wrap up week 4 stuff?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Uh, I was just gonna say Barry's is having a really good tour
Shout
generally.
out berries. We love spoiled
I've been
berries.
really
Sweet
impressed
tunes
with it so
forever.
far. Aside from that, I don't have anything else to say.
All right, cool. In that case, we can kind of call it for week 4. There it is. Another week with 4 decisive results. We have yet to have a tie. This RUPL, I don't know what to think about that. Personally, I'm going to say it's a good thing. I hate ties. Week 5. All right. So, week 5, whole bunch of new matchups. Let's start looking at some stuff, see how it goes. First up, Hustlers Chains. And this actually has a game that already happened, I think. We scroll
We are
down.
still on week
Hey,
4, by the way.
can you change your screen thing?
Why does this always happen? Okay. Um, Jack, give me just one moment. Good. Good, good, good. Week 5, week 5.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Fireballs. Um,
Yep.
where was I? Right. Hustlers Chains. Uh, First game actually already happened. We scroll down to the bottom here. We see Thiago Nunes beat, I think it was Avarice. Yeah. So Team Nunes beat Avarice, so we're already, I guess, 1-0 up on the week. But yeah, Evie, this is your team and then also my team. So Seed, I will, kind of let you talk through this first, just a little bit about what you kind of expect here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some very lopsided matchups here. So like Stresh, for example, versus XRN. I think there's a very strong chance Stresh will take that. But some others I think could go either way, right? I think Batty is secretly like a really strong pilot. And so if someone is feeding him good black and white teams, I could see him taking it over Guille. Um, Oyster's having a really good tour, but Danny's also just a strong player, so that could go either way. Um, Ming, I don't really know with you and Tonya, to be honest. Um, I think you could probably take that, but who knows? And then yeah, I don't know. I think it's fairly evenly matched with like one or two lopsided matchups.
All right, cool. Evie, what's up with that? What's up with the Zoras slot?
Oh yeah, wait, what
Okay.
happened?
Well, Winsong's the return. Actually, um, so I said like I wasn't feeling very well like last Sunday, and so I can't prep at all during the week, and it's my birthday on Sunday, so I was like, I'm not gonna want to play on my birthday, so I said, sub me out.
Hmm.
That's it. Yeah, I
Happy
factor
early
my
birthday.
birthday over RUPL. Like clearly, I have my priorities straight.
Makes sense. Happy early birthday. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Hustlers will have to give you a very nice birthday present of a loss, but you know, you always got next week.
Well,
um,
you can't give me a loss. I mean, I'm not on the lineup.
oh, that's true. We have to give your team a loss. There it is. but
Damn.
yeah, I mean, this is an interesting week. For the Hustlers, we've let two slip in a row now. We got to bounce back. Big statement week for us. It's good to see the T Nunez getting it off on the right foot already. Yeah, it should be a good week. Should be some interesting stuff. Uh, will be interesting to see Winsong play for the first time in like what 7 years,
A
8 years,
decade,
something like that. It's
pretty much.
been like a
But
decade since this
yeah,
man
I
played
mean,
behind the sticks.
yeah. If I have to be like somewhat serious, I think like your team really needs this, because like going down 2 and 3 with the quality of other teams in the store, it's gonna be really difficult. And if the I don't know if the Cookers can get a win over the Pranksters, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. They're gonna have all the momentum, and you're gonna be like, oh, that's not looking great. So who knows? I think you really need this week, probably more than we do, but obviously we want to keep going because like it's been working generally well for us.
No, 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 no. Just toss the week, throw, 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 throw. If there's any week to throw, it's week 5. You know what they say? Week 5 is for the throwers. But
Yo,
yeah, definitely a must-have week for us. I think. Not like literally, but like almost literally.
pretty much, pretty much.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of we're both involved with this, so not gonna say too much more on that. I guess we can kind of keep it pushing. Then we have cookers, pranksters, seed. Obviously, you're involved with this one, so I will toss it to Evie first. Evie, what do you think about this?
Um,
You can be
okay,
honest. You can be so honest.
this is interesting. Huh. I I I feel like it would not surprise me if the Cookers win, because I can see at least like 3 slots in SV where they have a really good chance at winning. Um, it's like for example, Flam Poke versus 3D. I think the upside is really there. 3D has been very good though, like very
Yeah,
very
three's been on a
good.
burner. Man's is like 3-1
Yeah,
or something crazy like that.
yeah, but I think Flam Poke knows how important his game is this week, so he's gonna like be super motivated. Because Entro versus Ajna, I mean Entro's good, but Ajna's been Ajna really. Um, Saul really needs this win. Like I feel like that's the thing. Like I'm probably coping a little bit to get the Cookers for to a win by like saying that their slots that really should win are gonna win, but like it's gonna be difficult. Saul hasn't been what they expect, frankly. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, I really want to favor him in this one though, because I want the narrative. I want the narrative to win there. I think Lily's shown a lot of good in BO3 last week, so Feliburn's been really solid too, but he's had his losses. So I think if you like take into account like say Lily and like Saul pulling out something, Flampoke, I think Kate is really good too. Uh,
Shout out, Kate.
there's something. I think there's something about like a 5-5. Uh, ADV is also a slot I could see black and white. Like there's definitely potential in almost every slot.
Okay.
And sadly, I think Fiend has a really good chance at winning against Passion, much to my dismay.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I will say this. Uh, I think the SV, like you said, is going to be a competitive slot. Ashna is like a clear favorite to me over Entro, but everywhere else, like I could see toss ups here. Like I'm a big Kate fan. Um, Fiend
Yeah,
has been having a pretty good tour by all metrics. Flam has had a great tour by all metrics. You know, the 1 week he loses, his team weeks, like his team wins. Like, come on. Yeah, I mean, great metrics. Um,
wait, hold on. Sorry. Do I see Sensei Axu in SM and not Fineko there? That's
yo, he,
crazy.
yo, he changed his name
No,
back. That's crazy.
he changed
Yo,
his
he changed his name
no
back.
no. Okay, no, I have to pull for Clem here. This is an outrage.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I will say though, like I said, the SV looks competitive. I'm looking forward to it. I maybe would actually favor the Cookers because again, Fiend, Kate, Flampoke, I don't actually have a super big problem favoring them. But they're old gens. I get down to it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about all that. Like, Shite over Shiloh. I mean, I'm picking him. Shout outs Room, but I am still gonna like pick Finch there. I mean, I think Amity should be favored. Uh, I think yeah, Sensei Axu probably should be favored. Dana Soul, like you mentioned, is a little bit of a more complicated matter. Um, More so just off of the reputation Soul has and how he has not lived up to that during this season of RUPL. So I mean, you know,
Yeah, and he's gonna be
got to start
focused
getting
on
wins.
RUGL because the draft is there. Wait, the draft for RUGL is this Saturday too?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, oh, that's and he's gonna have to carry that one.
it'll be tough. It'll be tough. But yeah, I mean, I think just because I'm a little closer on how the SV will go versus how the kind of old gens will go, I mean, it should be no surprise actually to just say favoring the Pranksters at this point. I mean, they are the last undefeated team I think
Yeah,
in the tour, but you know, that's not to take anything away from the Cookers. There's something to be said about playing from the underdog position. Um, when the expectations are kind of low, when the expectations maybe are a little bit non-existent, I mean, then you're just playing for all the more, right? I mean, you can only go up from there. So uh, I expect them to still be locked in. Getting that first win last week is a huge momentum builder, like absolutely critical. Uh,
Yeah.
and if they want to keep those playoff dreams alive, they do need to, you know, start squeaking out more wins. And versus the number one team right now, I mean, that would just be a huge kind of momentum statement. Uh,
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah. One
the
is
win for us last
sorry,
week
go
was.
on.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. I think the win for us last week was really a big motivator for the heavy prep happening this week in our court. I will say. I think yeah, as you mentioned, like there are some pretty like David versus Goliath kind of matchups. Someone like Vroom versus Finch. I think you would normally expect Finch to win, but like Vroom knows Finch's builder like back and front, whereas vice versa, I don't necessarily think is true. So Vroom is just going to try really hard in that slot and may just win in the builder. That's that's just what might happen, right? And then for us in Sun and Moon, we just have a lot of motivated prep happening from the support. So it's just a matter of can our players execute the ideas that our supports are putting through, and I think they can. And we also have the plot armor, so let's make a win happen.
yeah, the
Yeah,
go narrative, go narrative.
Yeah.
I think that was what you said before, right,
yeah,
Evie? You want to push the narrative?
yeah. I think I have two things here. First of all, when was still a new, like I signed up for UUPL and I played Finch in Black and White EU, and I beat him like 3 times in the same season. And ever since that, I feel like Finch has a particular weakness for random ass noobs, and I think Vroom fits that perfectly. And like, I could definitely see Finch complain in random Discord about how he played RUPL, and there was this giant ass noob that makes all the wrong plays, and it's really frustrating because he did that to me. So I really think there's the potential of that happening there. Um, oh, same old Finch, same old Finch. And the other thing I wanted to say is like, I think it's interesting because like one team is flying really high, they're her friend group, but I also think that the Cookers have like a really interesting chemistry. If Fiend and Flampoke put their disagreement this past week behind them,
Yeah, imagine
which
beefing
who
in
knows?
public in the court. Crazy, bro.
No,
Crazy.
guys, they're kind enough to take their arguing outside of the team court. In fact, they have it in public, so as to not disrupt the great chemistry we have. So, it may look bad from the outside, but you know what? It's all peachy inside.
All right then, I'm a fan then.
Shout outs Cookers, man. Definitely one of the characters of the tour, to say the least.
Yeah,
Um,
we have good vibes, I think. That was something that Flam and I wanted when we were drafting people is just a good team environment.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Uh, Evie, any closing statements? Seed, I guess, any closing statements for your team, I suppose.
No.
All right.
Look forward to a win from us. That's all I could say.
All righty then. Moving on. With the Guardians versus the Technicians. Uh, two heavyweights, both 3-1, I think, at this point. Or actually, I'm sorry, the Guardians are 2-2, and the Technicians, I think, are 3-1. Um, this is gonna be good. I like what I see here. There's a lot of fun matchups here. Umbry Metallica
Yeah.
highlight. I like that. I'm a big Metallica fan. And Umbry is, I think on a little bit of a slide, lost the last 2 weeks. So definitely trying to get back in the win column. Or God forbid go negative this week. Could you imagine? That would be crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, though, that would be more frustrating to Metallica, I think, because like now Umbreeze is really unpredictable with
So
her
true.
team choice, and like you've never really seen her like on the slide, so this actually adds unpredictability. So it's really interesting. I really don't know what she's gonna bring this
Maybe we saw HO Umbry last week. Maybe it's Stall Umbry this
week.
week.
Yeah,
Could you imagine? Some like nasty
maybe
Wochan,
another HO,
some Chansey
maybe
teasing.
Weather HO actually.
Weather HO,
Weather
you think?
HO with a Chansey.
Whew,
I don't know.
Chansey HO. Words I haven't heard in like a decade,
A
honestly.
week?
Huh.
No, didn't someone bring like Healing Wish Chansey last week?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I watched
Yeah,
that game, but if they did,
we-
shout outs to them. Chansey HO is back in vogue. That's
I'm
crazy.
pretty sure we brought it one week. Maybe it wasn't last week, but it was one of these weeks.
Dang.
So
But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Yeah, Umbry Metallica will be a fun game. I'm gonna pick Metallica because I like Metallica. Um, he just builds for so many tiers and does so much for whatever team he's a part of. Like, yeah, that guy's crazy. He's crazy.
that's
He
the
does
goal.
he does
That's the
his thing.
goal.
Lana Sophis, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the rest of these SB matches are not really as hype as specifically just Umbry Metallica. This one is carrying a lot of weight for me.
I think
I
I think Fish is gonna get destroyed by Sleep Talk Wo-Chen. That is my prediction.
that would be funny. That would be funny. And then aren't Trip and Plague on the same World Cup team? No, I'm tripping. Plague is like Brazilian, I think. Yeah, yeah, he's from Brazil. Cool. It'll be interesting to see if Drip can go 3-0 though. That'll be fun. Um, looking at the old gen stuff, I mean, not a ton is jumping out to me. I mean, Kumiko Iza or Elza. I mean, this is gonna be fire.
That's
Evie, what do you
exciting.
think about this matchup?
Yeah, I can't wait for this one actually because they're both like really creative builders. Kumiko brought like a decently normal team last week on the on the get on the on the gambit that Crossbow is gonna like bring a little too much heat again, and
Hmm.
that worked out. I no, I really think this is a good matchup. Interesting to see Elza back in SM after Dugza clutch versus ODR, but yeah,
Oh, actually, from what I was told,
I
Elza was like that was like an IRL thing basically that they had like conflicts, so they're like, yeah,
yeah,
sub me out. Now they're just back in. So
yeah, but yeah, but like if you get subbed out and the person who subs in wins against ODR, like, aren't you tempted to keep them in a little bit?
well, I mean, we won. We had IFO sub in and SM, and he beat ODR, and then we had to sub him out. So
Okay, so basically what you're saying is ODR is washed.
hey, listen, wait, hey, no, I didn't, no, I didn't say any of that now, but he is what is it, 2-2? He's 2-2 right now. It's well, actually, is ODR one and
Yeah,
three?
I think he's 1-3 because he was 0-2 when he played crossbow and loaded up. Yeah,
Oh,
and
yo,
he loaded
ODR
up
is
like
1-3. Oh,
yeah, but his one win was when he loaded up Mega Emperors versus no ground type because apparently ground types aren't that good in SM.
I'm sorry. I mean, I just can't. Isn't it the way you're saying that so deadpan? Okay. Yeah. Um, ODR has not had a very good season, which is, maybe it's just the Rockies Defiant Payloaders debuff. Maybe that's just what it is. He's being debuffed by the team somehow. It is what it is.
Yeah,
And we'll talk about them later. I mean, they're the last matchup we have to cover this week. But kind of finishing things up here, Haysup Berries. This will be another highlight. A big spoiled Berries fan, and Haysup has had a pretty strong season in ADP. So he lost last week, but looking to bounce back for the Guardians. And definitely, player of his caliber, and you always got to be on your toes. I will say though, it is Thursday at the time we're recording this, and he has not played. So I don't exactly know what that means. Um, because he's kind of notorious for playing at very arbitrary times, like a random like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday or some nonsense like that. You know. Uh, and then I best of three. I mean, Punny Franklin. This. I mean, I have to say this is like a super highlight, right? Evie. What? I mean, Seed. Am I crazy?
This
Is
is
this
very
is this
high.
not the best of three match of all best of three matches this season so
Yeah,
far?
this is good. I'm looking forward to this one.
Who are we picking? Who are we feeling? Seed vibes. Who are
I
we feeling?
I mean, I am inclined to pick Franklin just historically, and Franklin has the most absurd plot armor I've ever seen on a
Absolutely.
player. So it is hard to bolt against Franklin here, but I mean, I could see Punny taking it realistically. So
Yeah. Evie.
yeah. Um, I I feel like the Franklin is onto the Trump's insider trading that happened this week because there's no way like at this point.
No, that's like so true. It's been, and I will say the same. This man, Seed, the plot armor statement. Yo, Frank. Yo, some of the like random bits and pieces of luck that are like unbelievable for this guy. Dragon
The
tail
fucking
missing.
dragon tail miss. The dragon
um,
The
tail miss,
dragon
dude.
that
tail
was the most
missing,
demoralizing things I've ever watched.
bro. Oh man. So yeah, Franklin has the power of God on his side, and it's been like 2 years since someone has been able to beat him in this slot. So you know, yep. Shout outs Punny. Shout outs the Guardians. Unfortunate, it sucks that you'll have to start off 0-1 just because of plot armor. Oh man. At this point, it's like Loki. I'm starting to believe just like no one can actually beat him. Like it is like preordained that he's just having another undefeated season somehow. What did he do? What happened last week with him? Did he play Diogo? What happened to that?
No, he didn't play. Diogo had something, and BT Boy got subbed in as a meme. Well, not as a meme. Like that's a little bit mean. I'm sorry, BT Boy, but it was past the scheduling time by a lot, and it just
Huh. All right. Well, that's crazy. Wait, does he get the win for
Oh
that?
yeah,
Does
that's
he
a.
get the act win?
I probably like I would give it to him even if it wasn't a legit one, because why the fuck not at this point?
So true. So true. But anyway, that's kind of all I have to say about this set. Very hype. Few like very hype matchups. I mean, again, best of three, SM, SV1. Very cool stuff. Chat, how are you feeling? Are we ready to go on to the last set?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Moving on, we have Prime Proto Synthesizers versus Rockies Defiant Payloaders. Between both these teams, they have one win in 4 weeks. Uh, so one of them is getting win this week. You know, good for them.
They could die. They could die.
Okay, well, let's hope they don't do that. These guys deserve a win. One of them, they really need it, especially if you're the Prime Proto Synthesizers who still kind of have playoff dreams. Kind of, they're again in that 1 and 3 slot, similar to the pressure cookers, where it's not exactly out of the realm of possibility they get to playoffs, but they have to start putting it together like yesterday. Like this is a must-win week. Um, and honestly, I mean they have pretty good odds, I'd say, mostly because, well, actually, I mean they have kind of chemistry issues too. I'm not gonna lie. Hmm. I don't know actually. Are they favored? I don't think they are.
I think they're slightly favored, but like I don't know. Yeah, I mean they definitely have chemistry issues, like you said. But it's just like a matter of which team has worse chemistry, which
Yeah, I think the Prime Protoss they did
Yeah,
win
they
a
both.
week.
yeah, yeah, they beat us.
I'm sorry, Abby. What were you
Yeah,
saying?
they 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 both underperformed way too hard this campaign for like me to give any particular edge to either team. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
see, I mean,
because like
I don't want to.
usually usually you'd see Koshalos versus Acker and you're like, yeah, that's a win for Koshalos, but I don't even know anymore. I didn't even know if Acker cares. Like genuinely, I don't know. Like I think the jungler cares. Like this one, I can tell you. I think Ye cares. I think FBK is gonna care. But besides that, dude, like honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't want to say this, but like low key, I mean, would a mid off be an incorrect statement in this context?
I was gonna say mid off too.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of feels that way.
yeah,
I mean, both these teams have again had very noticeable issues throughout the season, and have had a hard time getting momentum. Have had a hard time keeping momentum. Um,
but yeah. The thing is, like, all those players are good. It's just, it's, it's just not work.
yeah, it just hasn't clicked. I mean, it's like, you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle, but the pieces are from like four different jigsaw puzzles, and it's like, you're just trying to make something happen here, and it is it has not gone
Yeah,
well. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, I feel like
yeah,
I mean, we can.
the protestizers have made some kind of bizarre choices as far as their lineups each week. Like, they put Ryu in a couple different slots in the first couple weeks, and I feel like that was strange to me. And then Ziri's been like thrown from tier to tier each week. Aldo sitting himself out, and now is back in this week. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what their angle is.
yeah. I think the one major tactical blunder Aldo made this week is he put Ziri against the Chinese. So, like, the time zone advantage is gone, which is really unfortunate. Because what else would you use Ziri for? No, but seriously, though, Aldo versus Killing Time in 2025 is actually kind of appealing to me. And especially since like Killing Time is not gonna be forced to run like basic, boring, stupid themes now because they're pretty much out. So he'll probably go, I don't care, and Aldo's gonna be like, I care, but I'm gonna use some wild shit. So I think I think there's a high potential. You see like three SC mons and like two NU mons, and I'm all for it.
That would be very pog. That would be incredibly pog even. All right.
ADV
I'm
is
also,
interesting
this
to
Sword Shield
me.
matchup, this does move me. I'm not gonna lie, it does. Like,
Yeah, it's a good matchup.
again, Strap Sweekins connection. Shout out to him. Bluebird is still Bluebird. I mean, he's not had a fabulous season, but I mean, he's still, a very good Sword Shield player, and has the potential to turn things around. So I would not be super surprised to see if, he could, pull a little bit of a W movement here, but yet to be seen. And then this is also going to be just like a very funny game, I think, because HJK is a very methodical, very structured type of player, and LBN is
Is not. Is not.
not. He is not. Yeah. So we'll see what happens here. This will be oh, this will be a very funny game. I feel like if it's not a very funny game, I'll be like incredibly disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
The ADV matchup is kind of funny to me because those are both actually receptionists players, and there's like a sick part of me that wants to just delete the ADV or the channel for the receptionists so they both don't have teams to pull from.
That would be
Because
very
either this is
funny.
these
Well,
rooms teams.
No.
that would be incredibly funny. I'm not gonna lie. If you, I don't even know if. Well, I assume Masusa just has those teams on his computer at this point. I don't know about FBK though, but that would be a very funny decision if you went for it. You could actually hide the channel. You can do that. You can like put perms on it so they just can't see it. They don't have access to it anymore.
Yeah, I'm also like a huge FPK fan, just generally. I do want to shout him out. I would love to see him take this.
For sure.
Yeah,
Shout
same.
out to FBK. That's the architect behind. Wait, no, it's the RUGL logo. Is the architect behind the very fire RUGL logo? Actually, is he the architect behind this too? I don't remember who made the art for this one. No, I don't think it was him. I think it was someone else. But yeah, shout out to FBK. Great member of the community. Um, yeah, I mean those are kind of the highlight matchups here that I would be kind of interested in looking at. So the LBN HJK, Strap Bluebird, and then also perhaps Evie, you mentioned although killing time. It's like it's the geriatric fight. It's geriatric fight night. The 1,000-year-old
I
users
know,
playing
right?
against each other. All right, cool. Any other like kind of final statements we have about really any of these matchups now? The proto synthesizers, payloaders, guardians, techs, cookers, pranksters, or hustlers, chains. Before we kind of wrap it all up.
Um,
All right.
I'm
In
good.
that case, we can kind of close it. I will leave you here,
Yeah.
which I just noticed the signature for the first time.
I was staring at that the entire stream.
I don't think any girl has said, ugh, Felly burn. I kind of forgot
I'm
Cable
gonna
I
say
had.
it live. I'm gonna say live. Oh, Philly burn.
Okay. I'm gonna cut that out. Like I'll literally turn my computer into a Boeing just to cut that out. So the stream ends right before that comes out. The comedic value would be high. But okay. Um everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning into this first kind of uh first RUPL like recaps and predicts. This is just going up raw. So whatever you see is whatever you see. No editing. We're just sending it. Um, thank you for taking your time, sitting down, and joining us. We'll catch you next week, hopefully, probably, most likely. Um, and yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We'll see you later. Peace.